Spirits knock for a couple of different reasons. A lot of times it's that they are trying to communicate. You see, spirits sometimes don't have the energy to just materialize and appear and talk to you, right? But it may have enough energy to make a noise. And a lot of times when this happens, you want to pay attention because it's often trying to show you something. Some people actually believe that these spirits, right, are sort of confined or trapped, in a sense, in this other realm. And so they are kind of confined behind the walls, in the attic, in the basement, and they are communicating from this other dimension. But if you ever hear a knock 3 times, or you hear knocking at 3 a.m., this is most likely something very negative. And one thing you must never do is knock back. I would not encourage that ever. This is a story about someone who did that such thing. Now, there was this guy named Greg. And Greg said one night he was sitting in his bedroom, and right behind his bed on the wall, he hears a knock 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. And he's kind of confused because he's like, there's literally um, nothing behind this wall. So what could be causing the knocking noise? Once again, he hears a knock. Boom, 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 3 times. And a third time, he hears this knock. So he eventually, is just fed up at this point, and he's like, you know what? Boom, boom, boom. He knocks back 3 times. The knocking starts again, but it starts getting louder and louder, and now it sounds like something is almost trying to break through the wall. So Greg, right, gets up and he says, just stop already. I'm trying to sleep. And it stops. He goes to bed, but then he's awoken in the middle of the night to banging again really loudly on the walls. And for like several nights in a row, right, he keeps hearing this banging on the walls. He checks right behind this wall outside. There is nothing that could be causing this sound. And, he can't sleep at night because all night long he's hearing this banging. Well, this one particular night, right, he goes to bed and he, like, all of a sudden wakes up and he's sitting outside in his backyard, and he doesn't remember like how he got there and what, like what is he doing outside? And he never sleepwalks. He's never had any like incidents like that. So he gets up, he goes back inside, and when he goes into his bedroom, he hears the banging sounds again. So the next day, right, he goes and he talks to his friend, and his friend says, go to the Catholic Church and you go and speak with them and tell them what's happening. So he goes to the Catholic Church and he talks to this priest. And the priest gives him a crucifix and says, I want you to put this on your wall where you're hearing the knocking sound and say a couple prayers on this like piece of paper that he gives him. So Greg goes home, he puts the cross on the wall, and he says a couple prayers. And this works. He doesn't hear the knocking until about 6 months later, right? He's sleeping and he wakes up to just the banging sound on the wall, the knocking sound on the wall again. And this time it's really violent. And he realizes this cross has been knocked off the wall and fell onto the ground. So he hurries up and grabs this cross and puts it back up on the wall, and the knocking sounds stop.